It's little teams like us that make the FA Cup, not the Arsenals or the Liverpools. It's the little fairy tales. And what we have done, we've stoked the guns up for every non-league team in the country now. It's given them a little bit of heart, it's generated them so that next year they're going to go like hell, and hope they can achieve a little bit of what we've done, and I hope that someone does.
Jack Marks speaking at the climax of Blyth's magnificent cup run, which ended on February the 27th, 1978 at St James's Park. But the FA Cup isn't made simply of climaxes. Every cup run has small beginnings. With the help of the players who built Blyth's historic achievement, brick by brick, goal by goal, let's now trace the road that led to St James's Park.
We got the best team in the land, we got the best team in the land, we got the best team in the land.
It all began with a bus trip one mild September day in 1977 at Shildon in County Durham. Rob Carney, a stock controller and part-time midfield player, remembers the goals that day.
The very first goal was scored by Brian Slane. There's a long ball through from Ronnie Scott in the centre-half position, through it to Brian, who was just nearly offside, but he kept himself onside in the outside left position. And he broke through into the box, and the goalkeeper came out, and he chipped it over his head and into the goal. And that was very early in the game. And we took charge from there. And Terry Johnson scored a goal, and I was lucky enough to side-foot one in from about 2 or 3 yards. Later on in the game to seal it all up.
No one that day could have dreamed of the national following that Blyth were later to attract. Indeed, the Shildon game was one for hardcore supporters only.
There's still quite a few there. There's still the old faces who you see all the time. It's the faces mainly. You recognise them, all the same faces. The regular supporters who come through, not just FA Cup games, the league games as well. All the away games, and you hear the various shouts. Like. One lad says Blyth Spartans okay, or something like that, another one shout at the top of his voice, and he's got a big voice and lad with a beard, come on Blyth, and you just get to know you get to know them through that.
After the Shildon game, Blyth and their fans found themselves facing a harder task in the second qualifying round, as the Spartans centre-back and full-time colliery fitter Ronnie Scott recalls.
Crook's always been a difficult side for us to beat, and when we went up there we decided to play it safe, try and get a draw and bring them back to Blyth, and the game was more or less even. I think Stephen Jones missed 2 or 3 good chances the first half, and then just before half time they scored. Ogden scored from a chip from the left wing. He flicked it in at the near post, and in the second half Jonesy made amends by scoring the winner with a long, about 25-yard shot.
At the time it was a vital goal because we were on our knees just about. We were winning 1-0, and we were having a bit of difficulty in defence. We were clearing off the line and whatnot. And then Brian Slane got the ball. He came back that day, I don't know why, and he got the ball on the left and crossed it and I headed in. And then they just kept attacking and they couldn't get the ball in the net.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved just like a team. Let's go to win the FA Cup again. We shall not be moved.
Blyth's goalkeeper Dave Clark, a part-time bingo caller and professional salesman, also remembers how close the team came that day to ending their run at Crook.
We were fairly lucky to come away with a draw at Crook, I thought. We played good football in the second half, but in the dying seconds, I think it was Charlie Morrison put a great header in from a corner or a free kick, which rocketed past me, and luckily John Waterson was on the line to kick it off, and we got him to a replay here, and we totally outclassed him. Yeah, we played much better football, and in the end, we ran out again, easy winners. So obviously the first game was the harder of the two.
One of the scorers of Blyth's 3 goals in that replay was Ron Guthrie, who, although now in insurance, had played professionally for Newcastle and was, of course, part of Sunderland's cup-winning side in 1973.
In the second game, I thought we played really well the first half. I think Terry Johnson scored the first goal and I scored a second with a free kick after about a quarter of an hour. And Robbie Carney got the third about 5 minutes later, and that put us on the way to the victory then. At that time, for me, it was just like another game, but as the cup run progressed, I started the same feelings I did when we played at Sunderland and at Newcastle. The latter cup stages of Blyth cup run that compared very favourably with Sunderland's cup run.
Meanwhile, in the FA Cup, the draw for the third qualifying round has been made, and it reads as follows: Whitley Bay versus Spennymoor, Consett versus Blyth Spartans, Bishop Auckland.
On the day that Blyth travelled to Consett, Tom Dixon, relaxing from his work as an electrical engineer, was playing at number 6.
At Consett, I thought we didn't play very well, probably a bit lucky really. They did a lot of attacking, but we kept scoring. That was how we got 4 really. We struggled a bit in the first half, but we just kept going. They were really on top for a lot of the first half, but we scored, I think, 3 goals. You know, and that knocked them down a bit. Although they did come back, they made it 1s each, but we just kept going, even though we were under a bit of pressure. Second half they had gone a bit because, well, we've got 3 by then, you know.
Having disposed of Consett 4-1, Blyth Spartans were now just 1 match away from the first round proper.
The draw was made today for the final qualifying round of the FA Cup, and here it is. Hempton or Ilford against Barnet, Bangor against Whitley Bay or Spennymoor, Bishop Auckland against Blyth Spartans, Hendon against Billericay Town.
Team captain the day that Blyth engaged Bishops was John Waterson.
Obviously that was the big game of the season at the time. You know, I had to get to the first round proper, realised that we had a chance of a league club possibly, and if I had the luck of the draw. We were second in the league. I think Bishop Auckland were 3rd. Away from home, it was going to be a hard game. It was wet, windy, muddy, and well, as a result goes, it was 1-0. We scored late in the second half with Ian Muttley getting a goal from a header from a corner.
I was over the moon when I scored, like. Well, yeah, at first we got a free kick on the left-hand side as we're kicking up the bank, you know, and Mickey Douglas floated 1 hour. And I remember going for it with my head, and I flicked it on, and the goalie tipped it over for a corner. And from the corner, I just stood in my normal position, what I normally am asked to take up during the game, which is the near post, and nobody picked us up. And Robbie floated 1 hour, and I just went up, and nobody challenged, and it was there, you know. I would have run to Blyth. I was halfway doing the field, they couldn't catch us. Oh, it was a great feeling.
Ian Muttley, the warehouseman who had given Blyth the chance of meeting a 3rd or 4th division team in the first round proper. Sadly though, it was another non-league team, this time Burscough from the Cheshire League, who emerged. Eddie Alder, the painter and decorator who's something of a veteran hero in Blyth.
It really did turn out to be probably one of the hardest matches that were played, you know. They were very skillful and strong. I'll not say physical side, but they were, you know, they never shirked a tackle. Similar type of team to Blyth, tremendous spirit, you know, and run ability. And I think it wasn't until the second half that we really wore them down and broke them down. Muttley, I think, received a good ball from Mickey Douglas, split the defence, and he put it away. You know, it was one of the few chances we really had, clear-cut chances of the game, and he slotted it to him. And after that, we could have scored maybe 2 or 3. You know, but they kept coming and kept coming. You know, it was always sort of in the balance.
The man who made the goal that day was a teacher by the name of Mick Douglas, and he remembers how, just before the Burscough game, a new element was added to the Spartans' already vibrant team spirit.
I think that was the first game where we introduced the song Victory Doodah, and I think everyone on that occasion felt lifted, and I think the FA Cup was starting to mean something at that stage.
Victory Doodah, the song which became the team's theme tune in the later rounds, and which, as Rob Carney reveals, was in fact pinched from another team.
Well, Jackie Marks asked us to sing a song when we first started out, and I just sang Victory Doodah, because it's a song that I sing when I play on a Sunday morning from the team I play for on a Sunday morning, which is the Queen Victoria in Gosforth. And they originated the song, and I didn't know what to sing, you know, you get sort of embarrassed. And I just sang that, and it seemed to go down very well, and we've sang it ever since.
Well, victory was certainly becoming the order of the day as Blyth progressed to the second round of the FA Cup. For their 7th match, Blyth at last drew league opposition in the shape of Chesterfield. It was certainly a relief for Terry Johnson, the cosmetic storeman and centre-forward.
Pleased we got a league team, especially at home, you know. It wasn't a big side, but it was a game to prove how good we were. I think anybody that's seen the game, including their manager, would agree that we played them off the park that day. They're scared in the first 10 minutes, but the lads were a bit nervous, you know. But I think we did well against them. Probably one of our better displays.
Can you remember the goal?
Bad mistake by the left back. He chested it on to Steve, and I don't think he'd believe his luck. He slotted away like Steve can. He can take the goals, you know.
Beating a third division team did wonders not only for Blyth's confidence, but for their support, which had grown with each new victory. So much so that one of the biggest crowds so far turned out to see them play the Isthmian League team, Enfield, old enemies of Blyth since they'd knocked Spartans out of the Amateur Cup in 1972. Dave Varty, a civil engineer, reckons that this was his best game, and yet how near he came to being on the losing side.
To be quite honest, they should have sewn it up, you know, had they taken the chances. But, you know, it's a game of football over 90 minutes. We scored one and they didn't, and that was the top and bottom of it.
In the side for the first time in the Cup that day was Alan Shoulder, the coal-face worker whose aggression and skill were to make such an impression in the later rounds, and who that day put paid to Enfield's Cup dreams.
It was a short corner. Robbie Carney took it to Davy Vardy and hit it over. There was just nobody near us. Headed it in.
Despite your height, you're quite a good header of the ball, aren't you?
Well, sure, they tell me. I've never seen myself jump.
Blyth waited eagerly for the draw the following Monday, hoping this time for a big team.
I was down the pit when I heard it, and all I knew was that somebody had said we got a first division side away. Obviously somebody must have thought that Stoke were in the first division, and I was over the moon. So it was a bit of a letdown to me when I heard it was Stoke away, because I wanted a first division side away. But we could have got a worse draw.
Despite Alan Shoulder's disappointment at drawing Stoke City, the Spartans were through to the fourth round. History for the club, as the club chairman Jim Turney reflected.
Once you get into the first round, it's like borrowed time for non-league clubs. When you think, you know, the Hartlepool, the Darlingtons and clubs like that, it's their ambition as well, you know, to get a run of the cup. And they must be saying to themselves, what right have Blyth Spartans to be doing so well?
On the 28th of January, over 50 busloads of supporters set out for the Victoria Ground in Stoke, in driving rain. Sadly, their journey was wasted, the pitch was waterlogged, the match postponed. On Monday the 30th, the draw for the fifth round was made.
Number 3.
Newcastle United or Wrexham.
Number 2.
Against Stoke City or Blyth Spartans.
The most unlikely North East derby ever seemed on the cards, if only Blyth could get past Stoke. The following Wednesday, the team again travelled down to the Potteries, again in vain. But this, far from depressing the players, brought them closer together, as Terry Day recalls, a player who travelled to every match but never got a game.
It's been fantastic, you know. Everybody's been in great moods all the time, you know. It's all laughing and that, enjoying ourselves. And the supporters have helped, like. You know, I've been great supporters now.
Finally, on Monday, February the 6th, whilst not too many miles away at the racecourse ground Wrexham were entertaining Newcastle, the Green and Whites trotted out onto a heavy Victoria Ground. Despite their earlier disappointment, 1,000 die-hard fans had travelled to the Midlands, including Blyth's Poet Laureate.
We're the boys in green and white, as giant killers we will fight. When you play us, you will see Stoke 2, Spartans 3. Up the lads! Up the lads!
Well, when we heard that prophecy, we smiled, but we didn't really rate it any higher than wishful thinking. Until, that is, with the game only 10 minutes old, Terry Johnson leapt onto a handling mistake by the Stoke keeper Roger Jones, and the dream was on, especially when Blyth managed to hold on until half-time.
Green and White Army gone to Stoke in the FA Cup. You may think that we're balmy, but when the team's going to have you up.
Oh, I see they'll win all along, didn't I? I see the 2-1.
Yeah, well, good start, eh?
I've told them to score for the last 3 matches now. I'm right this time.
Are you from Stoke? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the Blyth team? Let's say spirited, to say the least.
The second half held many surprises. First, Blyth fans were shocked into silence when Stoke City scored. It says a lot for their loyalty that the goal, and a second which followed only minutes later, didn't silence them completely.
Didn't give up hope, man. Didn't give up hope. You lost the spirit.
The players somehow managed to pick up the fans' spirit. Towards the last quarter of an hour, Blyth were beginning to attack again. Steve Carney.
They were on top of a lot at that time, and we just come back, really, we just turned to the lads and said, however, we've got to beat them, just. Ron Guthrie took a free kick, and it was deflected off one of their defenders onto the post, and it come back out to Alan's shoulder, and he headed it, and it hit the other post, and it come out to me, and I headed it in finally. So I didn't think it was ever going to go in, it was coming off the post and coming off the, everybody was saving it, and when I actually got over the line, I was over the moon, oh, hey. I could have ran into the stand and just chatted with them, instead of playing on with the game. I just wanted to go and sing with them,
With the fans.
The apprentice electrician had made no mistake. 2-2. A remarkable comeback by any standards. The fans, much relieved, were talking of a replay at St James's Park. The players, though, couldn't wait for that. Rob Carney passed the ball, the Stoke City defence had left Terry Johnson unmarked, and they paid the price.
Just a cross back, helped them, flicked it on and come straight to me. Nobody marking us. Great man, just put it in.
Well, how do you feel when it actually gone in and the Blyth crowd directly behind the goal went wild?
Great man, I was shooting to jump now and give him a good cuddle.
Fantastic! Let any team come from any division now. Anyone!
Marvellous! Fantastic, man. Great. It's magic. It's been a real cup, guy. A real cup, guy. So I've got to, they'll keep coming back. Even if they are doing this, they'll come back at you.
Blyth, always been great fighters back. If they're down, they still fight. They fight and fight and fight. And they never let up, whatever.
2-1 down, 3-2 up. Now we're going to win the cup. La 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 la.
Stoke City 2, Blyth Spartans 3. No wonder when the final whistle went, the players were still singing.
Victory, we're all hoping for a win today.
For that display, Blyth won the Giant Killers Award for the 4th round. They also won themselves a place in the 5th round against Wrexham, which took them into the history books and into the hearts of a nation. They'd beaten clubs which should have flicked them aside like flies. They'd reached as far as any other non-league club in the history of association football. And they still hadn't reached the pinnacle. That awaited them at St James's Park on that historic February night. The final word in the story, though, must go to Brian Slane, the school teacher and manager to Blyth Spartans. It was he who, at the civic reception awarded to his team, summed up in the words of a poem written by Mrs. Margaret Nicholson the whole story of that magic fairy tale, Blyth Spirit.
The little town of Blyth must be the proudest in the land. They can't believe it happened, someone waved a magic wand. They waved it on the football team, and from that moment on, Croft Park became a fairyland, an island in the sun. First Children, Crook and Concert, then the Bishops met their fate, all falling by the wayside while the Spartans celebrate. Burscough was the next scalp on the golden Wembley trail. Chesterfield and Enfield tried so hard, but no avail. Eventually, they got to Stoke, with luck still on their side. That night, the city chairman took his gin with cyanide. The day they played at Wrexham, on that cold and frosty ground, don't tell them that I told you, but a gremlin was around. He played about with corner flags, bewitched the referee. The whistle wouldn't blow because the gremlin pinched the pea. Back home again on Tyneside, where the black and whites hold forth, 50,000 hailed the Spartans, great new champions of the north. Red and white and green and white were the colours on display. but the glorious run was ended by that dirty shade of grey. We hope that in the future, when you hit that trail once more, you'll never meet that referee who knocked you out before. And now, please, Mr. Watson, a whisper in your ear, convey our thanks to all the lads who are assembled here, and also to the tireless Messrs. Turney, Marks and Slane, without whose special talents all your work would be in vain.